the elephant in the room. Why have you not seen Home Alone? This is a classic movie. Like, my parents, they didn't like it because Kevin McAllister, classic head. Driveby Movies, my name's Blaise.
My name is James.
And never have I ever seen Home Alone.
Yes!
Starring Macaulay Culkin.
Up here, you morons! Come and get me!
Joe Pesci. Daniel Stern.
Somebody pick up.
Catherine O'Hara.
Pick up!
John Hurd.
Do you speak English?
And John Candy.
I got a feeling this is going to be your best Christmas ever.
Home Alone.
Home Alone is the 1990 Christmas classic about a troublemaker kid who must protect his home from two burglars during the holiday season while he was accidentally left home alone from his family. This is a classic. I've seen it, honestly, more times than I can remember, honestly. This movie and A Christmas Story are probably the movies I've seen the most my entire life. Straight up. It's just a classic for my family. We'd watch it every year. I had it taped on a VHS cassette. We recorded it off a TV, I remember, and I would always watch it all the time. And I actually don't have it in my collection. I never owned an official version of this movie. But this movie is important to me. And Blaise, I know you've seen some scenes, but this is your first time watching it from beginning to end. What's your experience with this movie, and what'd you think?
So I have to say, we got to get into it. The elephant in the room. Why have you not seen Home Alone? This is a classic movie, 1990, the year that I was born. I should have seen it when I was born. I should have seen it that year as a little 6-month-old, like you did. You should have. You saw it in theaters when you were barely an infant. I should have been there, in the theater, cheering for the great Kevin McAllister. Cheering for him in the theater as a baby. Not crying, cheering. But yeah, basically it's just one of those movies that obviously came out the year I was born, so it's I didn't really get to see it. By the time I got to see it, my parents, as we've talked about it as just this thing in the past, any movie where there was a kid who is just a classic shithead. We talked about it in the Small Soldiers sequel. We're talking about our history with Small Soldiers. I was able to watch that movie for some reason, but my parents turned on it in the theater, oh, I don't like this movie, while we're watching it, maybe an hour in. This is one of those movies where they knew from the start, whether they saw it in theaters or they heard about it or saw anything about it, they didn't like it because Kevin McAllister, classic shithead. The entire movie, he's a classic naughty kid. He's just a bad kid. Besides the fact that he's attacking these burglars, being ruthless with some Looney Tunes action, it's just his attitude, I don't know, throughout the movie. I definitely got caught a whiff of it. This watch through is just how kind of arrogant he is, how kind of much he is kind of a little jerk. He's a little smart aleck, I guess, smart kid that's getting into trouble all the time. I think my parents didn't want me to be that kid, but I was still on that tip, so it doesn't really matter, I guess, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Anyways, getting into the actual movie, though, it was cool to watch it for the first time all the way through, but I think I underestimated how much I hadn't seen this movie because I felt like when I was watching it, I had seen the entire thing. I felt really? I've seen so many clips, but just all pieced together throughout my life. I'm sure I did watch 100% of the film, just not at once, Are there movies like that for you where you've probably watched the whole thing, but you didn't watch it in one sitting, you didn't cohesively watch the film?
Right. Yeah, that's definitely happened with me with multiple movies. None come to mind and stuff, but how does it rank against Home Alone 3? And how does it feel watching the third one before you saw the first one, technically?
This film is, like you said, it's a classic. Home Alone 3 doesn't feel like a classic. I'll just say that. if we're gonna talk about Home Alone 3, it doesn't even it feels like straight to. Wasn't it straight to DVD or was it a theater?
No, it played in theaters. I saw it in theaters
so
and
straight
did not
to
like
DVD. Like it feels like a straight to DVD movie where this film. I mean, they're emulating so much of this film in Home Alone 3, like scenes just verbatim taken out and redone in Home Alone 3, but not done well, or they tried to up it enough where it's like actually kind of lame and not cool. Like they try and just upgrade certain scenes and certain actions. But yeah, this film, it has all the hallmarks of like a classic Christmas movie. Like you said, it very much does kind of feel like a Christmas Story. Christmas Story has all those vignettes, a lot of which we were talking about last week when we talked about National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. There's all these family Christmas moments that they fill the film with. Christmas Story definitely set the groundwork for filling a movie with just Christmas hijinks, Christmas, when you get all the family around and there's these certain things that happen, like that's what Christmas Story is. This film kind of takes notes of that, I felt like, but then they just kind of throw out all the paint at the wall at the end with this kind of insane home invasion style plot, I guess, like a PG rated home invasion movie.
Right, yeah.
And
like the original You're Next.
Yeah, I was gonna say all R-rated home invasion movies have definitely ripped off Home Alone in some sense, and I would even say the James Bond film Skyfall did take a lot from Home Alone.
I remember when it came out, everyone was like, the end felt like Home Alone and stuff. Yeah,
the last act of Skyfall, a great movie. It does feel like a Kevin McAllister 007.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing also that I guess I forgot about with Home Alone, though, is like you kind of always remember the action sequences towards the end of the movie, but the movie's pretty much over. I mean, it's about like 100-minute movie, maybe 110 minutes, I'd say, but the action scenes only take up like 20 minutes of it. It's mainly just like him, like, of course, like the family stuff, like that takes up most of the movie, I'd say. A lot of it focuses on the mom still, even though it's Kevin's movie, it's Macaulay Culkin's movie for sure. But a lot of it does focus on his mom and her like doing anything to get back, and just feels bad the way she like, her last conversation is with him, and she just wants to make it up to him by giving him a proper Christmas. And so that's like a big part of the movie. But the robbers, they have their own moments too. But I always forget that just like those action sequences only take up like 20 minutes of the movie, and then there's like a resolution that takes up like 10 minutes in the after all those hijinks moments. And as a kid, those were my favorite moments, the hijinks moments. But watching it now as an adult, like I really appreciate the family scenes. I used to hate the old man in the movie and like his storyline, but I think those are some of the best moments when rewatching it as like an adult and stuff. Just like, oh yeah, those are like, those are real family problems that like, heck, my family goes through and stuff. Like people don't talk to each other anymore. Things get in the way and stuff. I'm just hearing Kevin just spit some truth and just being like, aren't you a little old to be afraid of stuff like that? I'm like, nah, I mean, tell that to my family.
Yeah, and you reminded me of the fact that like I think all the scenes that I did see from this movie were all those action sequences. Like I basically saw all those out of order, throughout probably 20 years. Like every year I'd see those scenes. Funny enough, I even watched the Movies That Made Us episode about Home Alone without even seeing Home Alone.
Right.
Because I'm just such a fan of movies. Like just like the making of movies. Even if I haven't even seen the movie, I'm down to watch the making of that. Even though I haven't watched the actual I've seen the poster, but I've seen bits and pieces. But anyways, like I felt like what I enjoyed so much about watching it all the way through, obviously watching it this time, and was just the fantasy that Kevin McAllister is living out, is like being home alone, like just living out this fantasy, doing anything he wants, calling up the pizza guy, stealing a pizza, or well, I guess he does pay for it, but he doesn't even tip the guy, so he's kind of a like I said, kind of a shithead. So, like I love that aspect of it. It reminds me of a film, one of my favorite movies, actually, Dawn of the Dead, George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead, where it's like the fantasy of being left in a mall totally alone.
What the hell is it?
Looks like a shopping center, one of those big indoor malls. What are they doing? Why do they come here?
Some kind of instinct, memory, what they used to do. This was an important place in their life.
Like this feels like that on such a small scale, where you're Kevin McAllister and you're doing anything you want. You're breaking into your brother's bedroom, looking at all his stuff, and ew, you're finding that disgusting picture of his girlfriend.
That scene always cracks me up too. And I recently saw like a house online where they had like mannequins of like Mary and Marv. They're like on the ceiling or on a roof of a house, and like there's a little Macaulay Culkin like hanging, like doing hijinks, and then there's like a picture of like Buzz's girlfriend in the window or something. I just like that house one Christmas. I just saw that recently and stuff, and just that line always like gets me. Buzz, your girlfriend, woof, and stuff. And that's also the scene that my dad would always quote, like even when the movie's not playing, he'll just say that out of nowhere and stuff.
It reminds me of Napoleon Dynamite. People just quoting the movie even though it's not even playing.
Yeah, yep, that sounds about right.
But yeah, I have to say this movie, it didn't catch me by surprise or anything, obviously. It was one of those ones where I just tread my feet on like, oh, I already know what's going to happen. I've seen so many parts of it. I'm not going to watch it. It's very Sixth Sense of me. And you even alluded to last week, like, oh, you haven't seen Home Alone, my classic Christmas movie. And we watched National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation last week, which was like my Christmas movie essentially. Right. So now we've covered the bases so far on like those classic Christmas movies for each of us, but we have some more left over, so wait till you see those, guys. But yeah, I mean, I say if you haven't seen it, if you're like me, I know a lot of people from the younger generation hasn't seen this movie, so definitely go check it out, because I think there's a lot to enjoy. If they don't, like, a lot of people maybe from younger generations don't understand how big of a thing Macaulay Culkin was. Like, this film is the one that put him on the map. Like, he was the original child star, the original I'm trying to think of other child stars like Dakota Fanning or Drake Bell and Josh, whatever Josh's last name, Drake and Josh, you know, Amanda Bynes. Like, he's the original blueprint for what all those people become. And they clearly surpass him, but he was massive in the 90s. So I think there's a lot to enjoy about this film if you haven't seen it. Obviously, you know, I watched it for my first time and I absolutely loved it. So I recommend anyone checking out that hasn't seen it yet.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. This is my Christmas classic. We're in the holiday season. Even if it's been a few years, it's still a fun watch. Like, this is a movie I don't ever see myself getting tired of. So I loved it. And if you haven't seen it or you're looking for a way to rent it, you know, a great way to help us out is by watching it through our Amazon affiliate link. That's in our description box below. Do that, come back here, leave a comment, and let us know what you thought about the movie. Let's talk about Home Alone. Let's talk about Home Alone 2. Let's talk about how bad Home Alone 3 is. Yeah,
what would this channel be if you couldn't just talk about Home Alone 3? You can do that conversation here or in our older Home Alone 3 direct to dumpster video. But anyways, guys, smash that like button. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates.
And that's going to conclude Never Have I Ever this week. If you still want to watch more of us, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. Be sure to check those out. Those links are just right here on the video down below. Check those out. But yeah, tune in next week for a brand new video.